My name is Kirida. I work at DAG as a researcher, and my work is specifically focused on urban land issues, and assisting communities to advance their own housing rights. I expected that we would have community leaders, particularly informal settlement leaders, come together, have a vibrant discussion, not so much about what the problems are, but maybe what the priority issues are that we can work together around. And when I say we, I mean communities leading the charge, and then us as DAG supporting them in terms of finding ways to work together for collective activism, so that we get some change within, some improvement within informal settlements. For the most part, that one thing that cuts across all communities is basic services and the need for basic services. And I think one thing that was particularly highlighted today is not just service delivery, but it's also what kind of services, that in the delivery of those services, people's dignity are still upheld. So, for instance, with regards to providing toilets, as opposed to perpetuating the bucket system, we provide toilets that uphold people's dignity and does not take away from that. So I think basic services was one of the key issues, and then it's the idea that we can't do anything by ourselves, that these issues affect all of us across settlements, and the only way to make a change or to advance or improve the situation in settlements is for communities across the city to come together and to find ways together to change these things. And I think maybe one last thing I'll add is just the idea around how women are affected particularly by the lack of basic services and the challenges within these settlements, and the role that women play also in terms of advocating around these issues. So I think that's something that really stood out also from today. These are issues around gender-based violence and collective advocacy and all of that, but maybe in terms of what needs to happen going forward, I think it's the conversations across communities and keeping that discussion going and creating platforms for communities amongst and across the city to coalesce, to come together, talk about these things, but more importantly, talk about how we respond. Somebody said today that we need to be able to engage with the government at the level at which they are making decisions. And if that doesn't happen, then we start to look at other ways. And I think more often the response is sometimes people assume that it's the other way around. So I think it's really important. That we arm our communities, or we give our communities different tools, or at least present that as an option to them, that there are different ways in which communities can address these issues. It doesn't always have to be via protests, although that may be, as a last resort, one of the ways, but there are different ways in which we can engage the city or the local municipality to address some of these issues. But I think also more importantly, what we need is a city that's willing to engage with the community. So both parties need to be able and willing to come to the table and have a conversation. Otherwise, we're going to go in circles. And informal settlements is something that will continue, or a problem that will, at least for some people, a solution to their problems, for communities obviously, but for the city it will be a problem that continues to exist without communities, the city, and even us as civil society supporting them never being able to get together and mutually or collectively find solutions to these issues.